Right now. Here we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Schey, and welcome to Habitat Now. It's an honor to have you all join me. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and taking a trip into the glass world with me. Today, I have an honor of inviting Jon Shaggy Boley to our presentation today. He is a new artist that we're showing in the Not Grandma's Glass presentation we've been doing since the beginning of the year. It's like a tongue twister, I tell you. Jon, say hi to everybody.
How you doing, everyone? Great to be here.
Yeah, working with Jon on a presentation for a while now, and I'm eager to show you what he's been up to and his career as overall. So I'm gonna first take over your screens and start showing you a presentation. I realize now that I may have to go to YouTube to get your video, Jon, so I may just do that real quick before we get started so I can make sure I have it queued up so we can see what we put together on the back end, showing your process, which is definitely an important part of what we want to show here. So let me cue that up real quick on the back end of my robot here and bring it over to my screen. We'll probably kick over to that in a minute. So let me pause it. Here we go, back to the screen. So I'm gonna take over what everybody's looking at and we can start the presentation. Come on, robot. Good, good. And screen share, run and go. Okay, so thank you, Jon, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Many of you have seen Jon's work. We've been kind of putting out emails showing you what he's working on. He's from a totally different totally different glass art world. He's from the functional art world, but he creates non-functional work, which we're going to be showing today. And he has perfected over his lifetime the flame working and making it his own and pushing the process to create his own styles and creating his own glass. He does just about everything. So we're honored to have him. He'll elaborate more. Continuing on, we're going to be raising funds during this presentation and from now on until the sellout of a certain piece of artwork that Jon will be offering, raising funds for the, Jon, will you pronounce the society for me so I won't mess it up?
Yeah, it's the Ehlers-Danlos Society.
And tell us a little bit about that right now, because I have you on the machine.
Ehlers-Danlos is a connective tissue disorder, which has a very limited number of cases that are found throughout the years, but it really affects everyone deeply who is involved. And my sister, who is on the Zoom with us now, has dealt with this for quite a long time. And I was recently also diagnosed with it, as well as have a number of other friends that I know with it. And this is just a cause that I'd really like to be supporting through all of this.
So we'll elaborate more on that, how we're going to help out as best we can. And this definitely hits home with Jon. So we're grateful to be able to do this, especially in the Not Grandma's Glass, which seems to really tie, arts and supporting fundraising opportunities so everybody can win. Glass 49 is online right now on glass49.com. Go and explore, please. I look forward to your thoughts. There's an amazing amount of artists there. We've been selling work here and there almost every day from people who have been interested in things. So please check it out. And I'm always here to talk to you about it anytime. Viral Glass is online. If you've seen this, it's an educational show about artists who've experienced the pandemic and created work during the pandemic, whether they were inspired by it or affected by it. We gave a talk last week about this. It's an amazing presentation curated by David McFadden. Next, this September, we're going to be getting together for a physical show in the actual gallery in September. So plan on being there. We're trying to put the plan together this month so everybody can be aware of what's going on, and we hope we can see you all there. If you'd like to watch more of these YouTube videos, feel free to check out the whole spiel and subscribe and hit that bell and share the videos. We've visited artists throughout the entire world, museums and all kinds of other institutions. It's a great knowledge base if you want to dive into the contemporary glass art world. We will continue doing these every weekend. We have other people lined up. I kind of mention this every weekend, and we're looking for more interesting topics and people to cover. And obviously, almost the first of every month, we'll be doing Not Grandma's Glass to focus on artists around the world that are pushing the medium, artwork that's not in Grandma's art collection yet. Jon, okay, so we're kicking in here. Let me see what my next slide is going to be. So before we get to the actual presentation, I'm going to kick back into showing this YouTube video right here. You can probably see. So let me enable this audio. You can actually talk over it, Jon. We don't really need the audio. Just kind of like your process. It's only a 3-minute video, but you can kind of get an idea of what Jon does. And tell us a little about your process.
Yeah, so here I'm working on one of my lampwork heads. which I've worked on a number of years on finding techniques on sculpting faces in large scale without adding any glass. So all these are always made with one single tube of glass. And these ones are that I'm doing for this show are all colored with powdered glasses mixing to come up with some original coloring. And as you can see here, I'm using a knife, usually a butter knife, or I also use a K-bar hunting knife for sculpting in the glass and blowing out at the same time to be able to raise up certain areas and depress certain areas to get a very smooth flowing form for the face.
Very cool. And you work with a variety of colors, and you've been working on these for how long? How long have you been working on heads for?
For as long as I've been lamp working, I've been working on heads. So around, since '97. But I worked on starting to figure out these large scale ones about 7 years ago.
Gotcha. And the ones that are going to be showing later in the show are wall mounted. And how do those mount to the wall? What is the secret technique you have for doing that?
There are two holes, which I'm popping one right now, actually, in the video. There's two holes that are popped in the back of each one. So they can be mounted onto a wide-headed screw or a hook to be mounted at any angle, sideways, upside down, and at any angles. And that's also how I mount them up in groups to be able to not all be just directly vertical.
It's very interesting. And then the heads in the presentation each have their own meeting, or the whole piece itself we'll talk about later. Getting an idea of the communication, the distance, and how relevant it is to, the pandemic today, being the fact we can't be near each other, and some people can based on, family and friends and whatnot. But it's amazing. That torch device you have is amazing. I never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's actually a Glass Torch Technologies Delta Elite, which is a little bit older of a torch, but I have it mounted on a custom base that I'm able to pull in and out and raise up and down at any time to make distance. But it has on top of it a company that has sponsored me before, Blast Shield. They make the L Marbler there, and that actually has also a flip up side to make a half box and a little cutout for being able to spin rods on. So it's highly modified, for sure.
Yeah, it does, definitely looks personalized. So that gives you a glimpse into a little bit of Jon's process. I'm sure it's way more complicated, but you get a general idea. So without further ado, let me jump back a slide here. Jon's show up on artsy.com, and I will share the link while Jon is talking. Shows his work that's available for the show, and it's non-functional work. There are some pieces he'll talk about that are functional, but he's exploring the medium. He's creating using his specific style and just showing off his overall talent at his lifetime of creating with glass. So Relations is the exhibition, and I will jump it over to you, and you can tell me when you want me to switch slides anytime, Jon.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so the show is titled Relations. As you can tell, the spelling is a little bit different there because it's showing how over this past bit of time with COVID, we've been able to see the realities and the false sides of relations that are going on, and in people's views and in how they feel about different people. A lot of people seem to be getting caught up on small things that people do and deciding that's who they are, and also finding deeper connections with people that are around them. And so that's where a lot of these pieces are based on. And let's go ahead and move next slide here. So that there actually is me working in a competition in Las Vegas at a Champs trade show. And that is a sheep person that I'm making there. That piece actually was about the strange connections people are holding within social media and the artificial likes and loves that people are feeling through that. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide.
So a little bit about Shaggy. You can read here, but I'll kind of give you an idea. It's got over 25 years of lamp working experience. winner of 26 awards from different competitions around the world, and he's a self-described Renaissance artist. But he also dabbles in music and painting and jewelry and just stone and wood and glass. So, you know, the idea that he's able to explore all these mediums to come up with his artwork is important, being the fact a lot of the artists we show in the gallery are mixed media. They incorporate glass with other mediums to create their expression, the means of expression of creating their art. So, and let's see, I think we go into the first piece now, which is the example piece I originally saw, John, on Instagram, which caught Corey and my eyes on your work. And I'll give you the image so you can talk about this.
Yeah, so this is how everything starts out for these pod cluster pieces I make, and this is actually only a very small amount for the final piece. And some of these are even just samples. So I go through and do multiple layers of colors on top of each other, sometimes to create a different internal color or to create a color that I'm not able to actually purchase. And sometimes the colors don't work out for the process, and I have to try and put things together to be able to test them out. And here you can see each pod is on a separate stem and has a lip wrapped mouth on it. And so it takes a little bit of work even for making each single pod. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And here is a test cluster. And these are now being welded together. I usually take one pod, put 3 together, and then make it to 5, and then slowly building in small clusters like this. And let's go ahead and switch to the next slide. And here you can see groups of clusters and then a base form that the clusters are all be welded onto and built off of. And usually the shapes that I'm creating as a whole are based on whatever my internal structuring is. So the angles and the shaping and the sizing of the internal structure is how I end up creating the external structure. And that took a long time to figure out how to control those dynamics. Right, and here we are with the actual rainbow pod cluster. And this piece basically shows about 5 or 6 years of work to figure out how to make this technique work. And the complexities in lamp working, and even with trying to do this in soft glass, there's a lot of limitations and a lot of chances of it wanting to explode, because everything here is completely welded together. There's close to 2,000 welds to create this piece.
Wow. It's quite an impressive work, and your grasp of color is amazing in this piece, which really caught our eye. And then, you know, getting the great photo always helps too. It's a beautiful work.
Yeah, and in this piece, you can see from left to the right, it's going in transparent rainbows into a pastel rainbow, and then into an organic earth opaque rainbow. And that was one of the main things with this piece, was showing a dynamic flow of color.
Yeah, and it just kind of mounts by setting it down, and has a unique form of balance based upon the way that it's mounted by the 2 sides while it floats in the middle. This work was sold. It was sold before we even met Jon, but just gave us an idea of his talent and his ability to create something as beautiful as this, and got him motivated in the Not Grandma's Glass exhibition to create more work. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Here's another view of it, and it is a beauty.
Yeah, and this piece definitely did kind of change my my career a little bit, on the notoriety that I got from making this, which I didn't necessarily expect I would be getting, but it does show like a kind of a step forward in lamp working.
I got a question from the audience about your term welded together. How are they connected?
There's a single stem coming on the inside from each pod. They originally were inspired by bellflowers. And so each stem is welded to each other, and then in clusters, and then each of those clusters have multiple weld points that weld to an internal structure.
Okay, so I think you mean, if I jump back here, right, you can kind of see how they're starting to get welded together.
Yes, and those are all clusters which have multiple connection points at the back of each of those clusters. And then one at a time, those clusters are welded to that main body.
Gotcha.
And then
you're
have to
really
fill in gaps.
you're really welding it too with welding tools.
Well, with the torch, with the torch and hot glass, so it's all 100% glass.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's welded using glass. Got it.
Yeah.
All right, great to hear. Hope that answers your question. Okay, so now we're going into red paint, which was created for the 2019 Tournament of Fire competition, which you won first place. Congratulations, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to win something before you head into COVID, which is great. So this is the piece.
Yeah, so this piece is I've been working in competitions a long time and got invited to do this, which was in an online competition, and I had to go through another one and win that qualifier to go into this Masters, which is what this piece was for. And the competition scene has always been very important for me. Over the years, it's definitely helped me learn and grow because it gives me a chance to go beyond what I would do as a normal day to day and have a reason to do it. Because a lot of times, you're not able, as an artist, not able to really afford often to do what you would like to be doing. And through the competition scene, I was able to build sponsorships, which I worked hard on trying to make it so that artists that are coming up and growing in glass but can't afford to do what they want to do can possibly feel like they can ask for assistance. And without that assistance, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And so this piece is also the first time I started incorporating my sculpting life forms in with the pods. And the koi fish are something that I'm very well known for. And so I brought in all the koi fish with this piece here. And this is also the first time I added the marbles in with the pods, which I think really adds a nice dynamic in going from the concave to the convex. It also changes how color looks and how the light bounces off of the pieces, the whole.
Yeah, the dark and the red and the fish really work together well, just giving the whole appearance of the work real incredible depth.
Yeah, and this one is also made a little bit differently than other ones I do because I put it on like a lot of my freestanding ones are based off of a flare foot, a rather large one usually. And this one is done to where the entire internal is black as well as the flare foot is black, so things appear floating.
Very, very neat. Okay, so now we're going to be kicking into engulfed. And here we go. This is the piece I've been using. It's behind me right here, I think, and it just shows a really great focal point to this particular work while mixing your style in a great way.
Oh, the question for that answer for that question there, and yes, all the marbles are on small stems as well.
Gotcha.
And so yes, this is engulfed. This piece is for me, this is just showing my world and my relation to art and to the lamp work in itself. And as you can see, the face in there, one is a lot smaller version, but very similar to the large scale ones that I do. And that is basically representing myself and how I am taken over by all of my art. Whenever I come up with an idea or get started with something, it's basically all I can think of throughout my days until I finished with the piece. This piece is very similar in structure on how it's created, as the same as the rainbow pod cluster, but working with a little bit more flow in the colors. As you can see, there's lighter and darker versions and stuff, so there's fading throughout the color scheme in this one.
How does this one sit? Is there like a flat base to it?
There is a flare foot, just like red paint.
Okay.
But the pods go all the way down to the table instead of creating the floating look that I did with red paint.
So when creating this kind of work and you have these pods, And you showed those bins earlier. I suspect you have like bins and bins of pods, or do you make like a certain amount of pods at first for a piece and then execute the piece, or how is it usually done?
Usually I'm making pods always specifically for each piece. And usually after I make up a certain amount and then start making clusters, first off to make sure that the color combinations that I'm working with are going to be safe to use for going forward in such a large structure. So there's multiple testing at that point. But this color scheme I've used a few different times and I know that it's safe. So I work and make these large numbers and start up a piece, and then I make more and more as I know I'm going to need more.
And if I were to take this piece in my hands, these pods don't move. They're solid in place, correct?
Yeah, they are actually. It's hard to see because I use clear, but there's very small clear bridges welding pods to each other as well. So they're not just on their stems and free floating. They're actually welded together so they as well, so you're able to actually hold the piece, pick them up, and they're actually a lot more solid and stable than you would expect holding it in your hand.
Good to know. And then I got a question from the audience: are the marbles opaque or transparent?
They're transparent, but of a dark colors, so they're kind of. And I did that to bounce off of, but they're still light will still slowly travel through them.
Great. All right, we'll jump to the next piece in the exhibition, which is called Drawn Together, which is a similar but different body of work. Tell us a little bit about this piece.
So yes, this is called Drawn Together. This is about the magnetism and the connection between two people or two souls, and then the energy that flows when that connection is created. And this is actually the first time I've done any monochromatic work with the clusters. And I did that also showing on the connection of the two people. And I think if we go to, here's the next slide, you can see, so these clusters are actually have a flat back on them so that they're able to sit up against a wall and hang. And they are built off of a large single rod of glass instead.
Interesting. What's the size this piece is posted on here? It's about 40 tall by 24 wide, installed on the wall. And then somebody asked, what do you mean by safe colors to work with?
When you mix certain colors together in borosilicate glass, they can have tendencies to crack from the expansion of the glass and the shrinking of the glass when it's heating and cooling. These pieces I do also are, with all the pods being welded together, there's a lot of push and pull going on once I'm starting to make these clusters. And it has to be worked on for small increments of time and then put back into my kiln to keep it warm to be able to bring it back out and work it again. So I have to keep a relative ambient temperature of that piece the entire time I'm working. And some colors will cool a little faster than others and create cracking, or even some colors are very stable for some applications, but will have issues in other applications. So I always have to test and make sure they're going to work for what I would like to do.
Gotcha. It makes sense. You know, there's some artists that work with colors that are very distinct, and others like David Patchen, who's an artist who's a master of color like yourself, who able to have the experience to know what colors work together. And it's part of, becoming a successful artist and professional, knowing what you can create and then continuing with that experience. Next words.
Yeah, and there's always ways of making some too. So
right.
If you work hard enough, you can find a way to make it work for you, even though it's not supposed to. So.
Right. That takes a lot of time, I'm sure. Next work is called Maternal. Just so everybody knows, it's 39 inches tall by 18 wide. A connection between mother and child. And here's a picture of Jon standing next to a piece to give you some scale of the actual work. Beautiful. This wood is painted, right, Jon?
Yes, this is acrylic painting, rather simple of my work, but some of my organic painting work that I've done over the years. And you can see that it's hung through a wire at the top, which is similar in representation to how Japanese bamboo paintings and Tibetan Tonka paintings are hung.
And these are the fish you're well known for in the world, right?
Yeah, these in the lamp working world since about 2014. This has been something that I've been recreating. For the longest time, I was known as only doing very limited runs and not actually having a full solo style that was recognizable for. And these koi are what I decided to make as my first like recognizable, repeatable style.
Gotcha. Beautiful colors. The transition from blue to orange. It looks, it's a beautiful work.
Yeah, I spent a number of years working on perfecting organic patterning for animals and of all types, from reptiles to fish, and those are used by doing multiple layers on layers to where that fish is actually 5 layers to create that color pattern.
Very, very interesting. And it's is it a solid or is it blown in these fish?
The body of each of these fishes are hollow.
Okay.
And then all of the fins are solid pieces, right, that are welded on.
Hot welded on. Yep. Yeah. All right. Next work is Habatat 10 by 5 by 4. Definitely relevant to today. Tell us a little about this piece.
Yeah. So this is Habatat, and this is showing our representing the connection that everybody's been having to their own homes and their spaces in a different way over this quarantine time. And this is actually a lot smaller than most of the work I do with my pod clusters. But bringing in the fish and still having nice dynamic color flow through it.
This is a lot like my house with multiple people being here. There's eggs representing the new babies and fish being our pets. Yep. And we're all stuck in the same place. And it's definitely going, what I talked about in the last meeting for Viral Glass is our homes are now our fortress of safety. And we spend so much time in here, and it represents in this kind of piece. And it's a beautiful one. It's a wonderful piece.
And you can see how they're kind of crammed in, everything's kind of crammed in together, which a lot of people that were quarantined in apartments probably understand the feeling of that, of being in that small space, but still being able to have that relation, and also of it bringing people closer together in their family environment.
Right, and learning to live together and not killing each other. That's the whole idea. Okay, exactly. So now we're getting into the fundraising part of the presentation, where we're talking about the piece here called Distance, which we'll talk about. There are small heads available for sale. They are $2,500, but for this talk, we're breaking them down to $2,000, with half of it going to the charity that we mentioned earlier. So we're trying to fundraise for the charity in a great way during this kind of presentation and on our website. So let's talk about the piece first, John.
All right, so yeah, this is Distance, and it's showing how the single soul can feel a little invisible. And that's why, especially with masks that have been so prevalent now, and that's why this centerpiece, large head, is clear. And that largest head is actually life size, which is something I've been working on, bringing the scale larger and larger and larger. And the smaller ones are the same as what you had seen in the video at the beginning. And you can see there's a lot of different expressions on all of these different faces, showing the separation of everyone. And we've been all pushed further and further apart during the pandemic. And I think it's, time for everybody to find a way to bring everybody back together.
Yeah, this is what's interesting about it is you're right. The idea of our communities being pushed apart. Everybody's at at the grocery store, and people are social distancing, and it's just the way life is adjusted in this each head
Yeah.
is upon on sales being separated, representing that from the whole. But even on the whole presentation together, they're separated in this particular setup. They're all looking away from each other. So there are
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, also, if you, one thing with the reason I put the medical mask on that, on the center one is so you cannot see his expression. And that's something I think has made a drastic impact on society lately, is masks have taken away the smiles that people give each other, just in passing, which I think that is a large thing that keeps society as an actual community.
Yeah, that's true. So it could run through the mask. This bigger one has sold from the center. A couple options of colors, and there'll be a couple extra options posted on our website later today. And should there be a color you like that Jon hasn't produced, there's always an option for that. And these obviously go towards a good cause. And if you would like one and want to help the cause, let me know. And again, they're $2,500 and marked down to $2,000 even, and they'll come directly from Jon to you. Number 9 has sold, and there's a little variety of colors, so I'm sure you can all find a space for one, I'm sure. That wraps up the presentation for today. It's great having Jon here and talk about his work. It's great to bring these communities together, and I'm hoping that we can do this more. And we're honored to have you, Jon, in this presentation by far, because it's such an eye-opening experience to see what talent there is in a different kind of community that involves the same energy that we focus on in the contemporary glass art world, on the museum and the gallery and museum side. Yeah, it's fantastic, man. And I've always been very impressed, and I'm so honored to have you here and to see what you created.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity. I've always been a very firm believer that the glass pipe lampworking community actually is pushing glass blowing as a whole forward, and it just hasn't really been seen. The number of new techniques that have been created over this last 20 some years of glass pipe making, I think, is done more than hundreds of years of glass as in techniques. So it's very interesting to see, and I'm proud to be part of this community.
Yeah, and Jon is a big important, let me stop sharing the screen. Jon is an important part of the community, and he knows everybody who's who in that kind of community too. And so having Jon as our contact to dive in and learn more about it from our aspect is very important. And we've met some of these people, but it's great to get, Jon's perspective, and he is great at communicating between him and I, and him with our clients, to figure out how we can work together more and focus on the energy, because there's so much youthful energy in this youthful community of the functional glass that can appreciate what we all love in the contemporary glass art world. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask Jon now. I can always put the slides back up if you see anything specific. If you'd like to get one of the pieces that are available, I will paste the link right now in the chat so you can check out his show. And if you wanted to get one of the smaller pieces that are for the fundraiser, you can always let me know, or check out online, because it's an amazing thing to see, what that we can do to raise the funds for the public. I'm going to share my screen one more time, just to show the Not Grandma's Glass webpage, which is up now. And you can see on the page that Jon is up as our May exhibition. And if you click on view his exhibition, you'll be taken directly to his artsy page showing the work along with pricing. So feel free to check out the details there. And you can also see the smaller heads that are available along with the unique larger works. And again, thank you, Jon, for coming today and being part of this. And I thank you all for taking time out of your day to join me.
Yes, thank you. Really appreciate it, Aaron.
All right, Jon, this is amazing stuff. And we look forward to working with you again in the future, and we're honored to have you. If anybody has any questions, this will be time, or else we'll wrap it up. And we'll wish everybody a great weekend. It's always great seeing you. And next weekend, we'll hopefully have another amazing presentation. I have Ann Wolf lined up to be giving a talk, which would be a lot of fun if it comes together. She is an amazing, one of the most impressive artists we show in our gallery. And many of you know and have her work. So if you have a chance to join us again, you are welcome. Thank you again for being here, and we'll talk all soon. Be well.
Thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, everybody. You can unmute yourselves and say goodbye, too.
Bye, Jon. Love you.
Bye.
Happy Mother's
thanks,
Day,
everyone.
everyone.
Happy Mother's Day. That's right. See y'all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.